7 o'clock this morning, and we're giving you a live look at some of the storm damage across North Texas today. On the left, you see Plano West High School. We were live there as that roof is on the ground now from one of their buildings. On the right, an RV park in Parker County. We have crews scattered across North Texas giving you a look at the aftermath. Thank you for joining us for our extended daybreak coverage on WFAA and WFAA Plus this Tuesday. We'll catch up with GMA in just a bit, but for now, I'm Marcus Took.
Good morning, I'm Kara Soul. Yes, we will get to GMA momentarily, but a lot to discuss. Mark just showed you images of those damages out there. We are seeing a lot of different issues with reports of down power lines and traffic lights that are out. And we have nearly, over 300,000 now people in the area without power. Greg Fields, this wind is going to stick around, and that, depending on what's happening, could make it difficult for crews to restore that. Excuse me.
Yeah, we'll have the winds moving through across the area, blowing still up over 50 miles per hour later today. We've had meteorologist Cassie Hyder in this morning as well, helping out, driving the radar. We've been tracking these storms as they've quickly moved across the area, and she can talk more about those winds here as we go along here this morning. But you see what's happening around the Metroplex here this morning as far as the storms. Fast-moving line of storms came into the western parts of the Metroplex roughly maybe just before 5 o'clock, and it has moved on out right now. So we've seen those winds really die down across the area. Here's the thunderstorm winds, but we still have to deal with that a little farther east. Still have that potential for some severe storms that will have those winds maybe up over 60 miles per hour, getting into our far northeastern counties right now. Heading out along I-30, you can see along I-30, Sulphur Springs a little farther north, getting up toward between Paris and Clarksville right now, Delta, Hopkins, and Lamar counties until 7:30. Still looking at a severe thunderstorm warning there, and the latest severe thunderstorm warning that we have a little farther south. We were talking about this storm a little bit earlier. It didn't have a warning initially, but now we are looking at Anderson, Henderson, Kaufman, Navarro, Van Zant counties until 7:45. So those strong winds there, maybe 60 to 65 mile per hour winds we're dealing with that, and that goes until 7:45 here this morning. So those are the active warnings that we have around the immediate area. You see that line of storms continues to push on into our far eastern counties now, really starting to wind down as far as any severe weather across the rest of North Texas, including most of the Metroplex here. We're not going to be dealing with any thunderstorms any longer here this morning. Still some wet roads out there. We'll have the residual effects from the damage from those winds that were 70 plus miles per hour as those storms blew through. The western counties that were in that tornado watch, that's off to the east now. Those have been canceled, and this may get canceled a little bit earlier for some of these other counties as well, as that storm continues to quickly move off to the east here for this morning. So things will start to improve as we go through the day, but we're still going to have major issues out there on the roads with all the debris and the damage that we've been talking about. So I do want to bring in Brianda once again to update you. No, we're going to go out to Natalie Haddad, who is in Plano, and you were Janelle Ford, excuse me, in Parker County, and talk about what's happening there. And you were at an RV park there, Janelle, right?
Yes, Greg, and we just got done speaking to the RV community's manager. She told me that they've had maintenance workers going around the community. They've tallied 4 RVs that were flipped over during this storm, including the one that you see behind me. Fortunately, I can report that according to the property manager, the person who lives in this one is actually out of town. So I remember earlier when I was talking to you all, I said that I wasn't sure if there were any injuries. The property manager says they've counted at least one. It was not in this particular RV, it was in a different one. But just take a look at the damage here. We've been talking about those damaging winds throughout the morning. This is the impact of this. This is the result of this. This is why we're so urgent when we talk to you about severe weather, because this is the type of thing that can happen. So I want to put some things into perspective for you. This is an RV, so it's not one of those trailers that's pinned into the ground. It sits up on wheels, as you can see, sits on the back of a truck that can be driven around, but still, winds here were very, very, very strong. We just spoke to someone who lives in a different RV. It's actually probably about 100 feet away from this one. He says that he was inside of his RV. All of a sudden, the wind started picking up. He said there was nothing that could tell him that a tornado was not going on. He said that he could feel his RV, but it seemed like lifting and falling, lifting and falling. He felt like there was some pressure inside. And then he said he heard a loud boom, and that loud boom was the sound of another RV rolling over and tipping onto his. He says his biggest fear was that the RVs were going to start rolling over and tipping and tipping and tipping, and he wasn't sure what to do. Fortunately, his stood upright. He says that once things had died down a little bit, he went outside. He found a woman standing on top of her RV, the woman that lived next door. She was hurt. Another neighbor took that woman to the emergency room. We don't have a status for her at this point, but so far that is the only injury that we are currently aware of. But again, just taking a look at the destruction here, this really puts into perspective the type of wind that we saw and the type of damage that this storm brought in. I'm going to send it over to Brianda with a look at traffic. And you know what? One thing I will mention as well is that when we were driving here, we saw an 18-wheeler that was tipped over. So this just wasn't just in this area. It was throughout Parker County.
Oh, absolutely. And even over in Dallas County, too, we saw several overturned semis that were causing issues kind of similar to this. So it looks like there is a semi involved in this crash. Text.A is reporting that all of the southbound lanes at 820 at Silver Creek are closed, and you can see they're diverting traffic onto this frontage road. It is causing a delay that is actually going all the way back to the lake. So again, these are the southbound lanes of 820 at Silver Creek. All of the southbound lanes are blocked. And we're also seeing delays on 635. This is in Dallas County at Forest. So it looks like there's one lane right now that can get by. It's going by really slowly, so you can only imagine those delays, but multiple law enforcement vehicles are out there trying to clear this crash. It looks like these are the vehicles that are involved right there. So if you're out there on the roadways, so there was a crash out here on 120 in Tarrant County near Holland. It looks like it is now cleared, thankfully, but all throughout the morning, we've just been seeing situations like this. This is a crash at 121 at Haltom. There's one lane that can get by there right now that is being reported in the eastbound lanes in Tarrant County 121. There was also an overturned semi being reported here in the southbound lanes of 35E. It's near the Dallas-Ellis County line. So traffic has just been backed up. This has been here for about 2 hours, I believe, and it has just caused a complete mess. But here, I'll leave you with this live look again at the southbound lanes of 820 that are completely closed at Silver Creek, and traffic is being diverted into those frontage roads. I do want to toss it on over to Chris, who is out in the roadways. Chris, are you still in Cook County?
No, Brianda, we just crossed back over into Denton County. We're heading south on 35, kind of right before you get to the 35 E and W split. But I want to show you that we are back in the middle of that rain. I mentioned last time it let up for a little bit, but now it is coming down hard again. The roads are wet. Those winds are still high all morning long. We've been out on the roadways, and what we're seeing mostly are those high winds causing problems, because mostly the 18-wheelers. We've seen so many. In fact, at this point, it's hard to keep up with them all. The first one we came across was in North Lake. This was one of two in North Lake alone. This was earlier in the morning, I would say right before 5 a.m. We were actually on that scene before the first responders arrived. They did arrive shortly after. When they got there, we saw the fire department looking around the cabin. It was obvious that they were trying to pull someone out. They were able to do that. They put the driver on the gurney. He was sitting upright, so we think that he is going to be okay. A little bit later on, we came up here to Cook County, where they were in the process of clearing another 18-wheeler that had blown over, and all the traffic on the southbound side of 35 was diverted onto the service road. And right now we are heading back towards Denton on 35 southbound, because we are headed to another report of damage in Louisville. So that is where we are en route to right now. But I would say, based on what we have seen this morning, anytime you're traveling near an 18-wheeler, and there's a lot of them on the roads, Martin, Kara, that's enough for me to kind of keep my head on a swivel, hands on the wheel. Back to you.
Oh, very wise move, Chris. Very, very wise on a day like today when you've got issues across North Texas, and some of those issues are power outages. The Encore outage map, we just checked, it just refreshed, and actually the numbers have dipped. About 294,000 customers. We saw that as high as, I think, almost 320,000 a few minutes ago. So those crews are out and about getting power restored to at least some folks across their service area.
Yeah, they start to work as quickly as they can. As soon as it's safe to do so, they're out there. So that is great news. We do want to give you an update update too. We keep watching the school districts that come in, and these are sort of hit and miss as far as where they are. We just heard from Natalie, who is in Plano. She was at Plano West, where it looks like that roof was ripped off, or part of it was ripped off over the gymnasium. So they had sent out, Plano ISD did, talking about transportation delays, and they urged parents and students to use caution. But we're also hearing that from Community ISD, which is like southeastern Collin County, Garland ISD having some delayed bus routes, and a couple of other schools that are going to be Everman ISD, and then like a few Dallas schools.
Yeah, Kaufman ISD we'd mentioned before as well. It's kind of hit and miss with which each school is doing. So check our website, WFAA.com, for updates, and also, if you can, check with the individual school district, because it is, hit and miss with what they're doing. But you mentioned Natalie being out at Plano, dealing with that roof that had been blown off. What a visual that was this morning. You saw the rain pouring down in the gymnasium as well.
And the fact that Natalie had mentioned to us the last time we checked, Natalie, we understand that they had actually canceled any practice this morning. Our kids could have been there.
Yeah, we were talking to some coaches when we first arrived at the Plano West campus, and they were telling us that there was water inside the gym. We were able to show you some of that. We were looking at some of the debris that had shed under the awning. I asked the coaches about were there supposed to be practice this morning, and they said yes, but they have an app of sorts where they have the ability to do a mass communication with all of the athletes. And when they arrived this morning, they told all the athletes, don't come to practice, don't come to campus. We have reached out to Plano ISD Communications to get any updates on delays and cancellations. Coaches were not able to provide me one. They were also waiting on an update. We do have one, though, about transportation delays. Plano ISD is closely monitoring the storms. According to this update, they say they anticipate transportation delays. Priority is ensuring students arrive safely, which may result in longer travel times. So know that while we wait on an update as far as the status of classes today, they are anticipating transportation delays. Now, moving on to the damage at Plano West High School, I know we have some video that you may be seeing right now, but if we can bring it back to my shot producers, we have a better visual of what the entirety of the roof looks like above the athletic building at Plano West High School. I'm going to pan it over here with photojournalist Brandon Mowry. I was talking to you guys last time we saw each other on air that there was a lot of tin rolled over. You saw a big chunk of it on the ground, but look on top of the athletic building. This is why we saw it raining inside the gymnasium. You see the tin folded over, and you just have a better look here again on top of the athletic building at Plano West High School, what it looks like. So again, waiting on updates as far as classes go, any delays, and I apologize if we actually do have it and maybe I'm just a little late to the game, but right now what I have from Plano ISD is that while we are waiting on an update on classes, they are anticipating transportation delays. I'm looking down Willow Bend Drive right now. We're on the sidewalk of Hamptondale and Willow Bend. That's right in front of Plano West High School. And I'm seeing a couple of cars pulling into campus. You're not able to see it on camera, but off to my right, I'm able to see some cars pulling in, and they are immediately slowing down and looking concerned, like maybe they're not supposed to be here. Outside of the damage that we see on top of the roof, and what you are seeing right now on screen, when photojournalist Brandon Mowry and I were circling the campus, we saw a couple of those portable buildings and temporary fences that typically surround them. It looked like there was maybe some construction going on campus. Those fences are down, saw some debris elsewhere on the property. So cleanup efforts just beginning right now here at Plano West High School. When we get any sort of communication or updates from Plano ISD Communications, we will relay that to you right here on WFAA Plus. With that, I'll send it back to you, Mark and Kara.
Yeah, thank you for that, Natalie. Boy, just that scene there in Plano, tough to take in this morning. But if you want to check out our airports this morning, maybe you're catching a flight as well. We did mention that there was a ground stop at DFW International earlier. I checked the flight delays there, and I think there were about 150 delays or cancellations when you add them all up at DFW. So if you are catching a flight today, remember to expect those delays. And I think I just saw an updated number, 185 cancellations to go with 58 delays as well, according to FlightAware.
Okay, so again, we're going to get back over to Greg right now. And Greg, I was just looking at the tower cam we have behind us, and I was seeing some flashes of lightning. So let's talk about who's still being impacted right now. If they're getting ready to get out the door this morning, who is seeing some rain, lightning, and wind?
And we're still going to have some rain around the Metroplex there, Kara, but the severe weather threat has ended around the Metroplex. Those storms, that severe storms line has moved farther east. So you see what's left around the Metroplex right now. Still going to have some light rain around, really start to taper off into Tarrant County. The rain has ended for you, but still coming down in Dallas County and a little farther east and south. We still have that severe thunderstorm warning for Anderson, Henderson, Van Zant counties. 65-mile-per-hour winds we're still going to be dealing with. So along the leading edge of this line of storms, still going to have some strong damaging winds that we're going to be dealing with in those areas there. That goes until 7:45 here this morning, and a little farther north and east, heading up into Lamar County. Hopkins and Delta included in that as well until 7:30. So another 15 minutes, but you see the heavier activity has moved east of Paris right now and Sulphur Springs. So moving on out of Lamar County, but we'll still have the strong severe storms moving east, getting on into the Arklatex region here as we head into the next hour or so, and it really will start to taper off. Still our far southeastern counties down toward Navarro County, out toward Mejia, still going to have some stronger storms in your area, but you see that pushing on into East Texas now, so things will start to improve as far as the storms are concerned as we go through the rest of this morning. So you can see as we head toward 9-10 o'clock here this morning, the storms really taper off, and that will be the case as we head toward midday today. Now the storms do move out. We've had those strong damaging winds that we've been dealing with throughout the morning, but behind this system, as the front works its way through, we'll have those winds coming around out of the west, and they will be quite gusty as we go through the rest of this morning, heading into the afternoon. So I do want to bring in meteorologist Cassie Hyder right now once again to talk more specifically about the winds that we're going to be dealing with.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, we're expecting a whole lot of wind once we can get these storms out of here. We've already seen wind gusts about 70 miles an hour. I'm not expecting that kind of wind later today, but we could still see wind. Okay, can you hear me now? Greg, can you hear me?
Okay, do we have Cassie now? Okay, I'll take it. If we don't have your mic on right now, we'll talk about.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
We'll talk about. All right, I'll just keep going with the wind advisory that meteorologist Cassie Hyder has been in all night with me as well, keeping us updated on what's been happening here this morning. And those winds that we're going to have to deal with, that wind advisory until 9 p.m. here for this evening. Those gusts going to be close to 50 miles per hour. They've really come down right now. Those winds have. The exception will be along that line of thunderstorms. You can still see a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust right now in Sulphur Springs, and that's where you do have those stronger storms that we just showed you on radar. But elsewhere, those wind gusts have really come down. But we'll still have some thunderstorm wind gusts out to our east, and you see around the Metroplex still going to be a little bit breezy out there with those winds, and they will be gusting up around 20 miles per hour still out at DFW, but the winds really starting to ease up, and that will be the case at least temporarily before those winds start to increase once again later on today. So the forecast wind gust as we head toward midday today, look at those winds. They start to increase once again. So we do have Cassie once again. So if you want to bring meteorologist Cassie Hyder back in once again, if you want to finish up talking about the winds here across the area.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, perfect. Okay, well, then we're going to try and make this work. We're going to go Tuesday, so this is today at noon, and we're starting to see those wind gusts coming in out of the west to northwest. And the thing with this is we're going to have wind gusts as high as around 50 miles an hour. You can actually see that 54 down there in Coleman at noon today, so it's going to get really windy. But in West Texas and out in the Panhandle, it has been very dry. They just have not gotten the rain and storms that we have here lately. So with that being said, there's a whole lot of dirt, a whole lot of dust that's going to be blowing around, and with that northwest wind, it is going to blow it right into the Metroplex here later today. That's going to be an all-day event. Visibilities could be low. You certainly don't want to breathe that in. It's going to be a problem for us throughout the afternoon. This is going to be 7 o'clock this evening, and we're still seeing wind gusts as high as around 42, possibly even 45 miles an hour. There's actually a 48 there in Archer City, a 48 in Wichita Falls, and a 48-mile-per-hour wind gust around Graham. Finally, we take it all the way through Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. Still a little windy early in the day. We could still see wind gusts as high as around maybe 35 miles an hour. By the time we get into Wednesday evening, it's actually a pretty light wind, and then we won't have to deal with it anymore. But the blowing dust will be moving in here later this afternoon and into the evening. Wouldn't be surprised if we still see a little bit of that by early tomorrow morning. The other problem with just how dry it's been west of I-35 and how dry it's expected to continue to be once the front moves off to the east, dew points will eventually be dropping down into the teens and into the 20s. So we're talking low humidity, gusts as high as around 50, and very warm temperatures. So the fire threat will be high today west of I-35. You can see the elevated counties, that's going to be in the northwest, but the farther south you go, we're actually going to be in that critical category. So looking at the 14-day forecast, Today, obviously, we've had the rain and storms. Some of our eastern counties are still dealing with that. Overnight tonight, we're going to be clear. However, it's still going to be windy. Tomorrow, temperatures down into the low 60s, but that's actually pretty normal for this time of year. Clouds do increase by the time we get into Thursday, but temperatures go up. On Friday, it's looking really nice. I think we do see a little bit of sunshine. It's going to be breezy. Temperatures in the upper 70s. This weekend, though, we actually spring forward. We're actually expecting that chance of showers and maybe a couple of thunderstorms, but the coverage of that overall, at least at this point, looks pretty low. We're going to keep an eye on it, but by Sunday, we start to clear out. Lots of sunshine. By next Monday, temperatures are going to be in the low 70s. Looking at that last 7 days of the 14, it's starting to look a lot warmer. We're going to have a lot of sun, temperatures near 80 degrees. You can see by the time we get to about March 14th, now we've got that slight chance of showers, temperatures in the upper 70s, and then temperatures go down a little bit. We even have St. Patrick's Day on the 14th day. You can see that on March 17th. And as of right now, if you're celebrating that weekend, it looks like it's going to be a good weekend for it. Guys, back to you.
Hey, so we're here in Parker County. We've been telling you throughout the morning about the RVs that were knocked over because of the storms early this morning. I want to show you though, because the cleanup efforts have already started beginning. So you see the tractor trailer here has been pushing some of the debris and some of the remnants of this trailer up against here. They just now stopped. The issue is they're waiting for the owner of this RV to get here because fortunately the person was out of town when all of this happened. Now, we've been telling you throughout the morning so far, the injury tally just at 1. It was a woman, not in this RV, obviously, because this person wasn't here, but at a nearby one. I'm going to have our photojournalist pan that way because it's not too far from where we are right now. If you take a look, this RV also toppled over. When I spoke to the manager of this RV community, she told me that they've tallied about 4 RVs that toppled over this morning during that storm. This one here, we spoke to the man that lives right next door to it. He told me that he was inside of his unit. He started hearing all of the wind. He was fearing for his life. And then all of a sudden he heard a loud boom. When he came outside, he found his neighbor actually up there on the roof. They got her down and they took her to the ER. The extent of her injuries are still unknown this morning, but I want you to take a listen to what that neighbor told me just about 10 minutes ago.
It was like rocking, and I just said, oh God, let everybody be okay. And at that time, boom, that camper came over on top of my camper. And if I would have went out the door, it would have killed me. And, I just felt it blow, and I thought, oh my God, I hope they don't all start tumbling. That's all I could think is I hope they don't start tumbling. And that was pretty much the end of it.
Yeah, and throughout the morning, we've been telling you about the damaging winds. At this point, we don't know how fast they were moving, but they were strong enough to be able to knock over several of these RVs. They also knocked over an 18-wheeler that we saw on our way into this RV community. But overall, we spoke to so many neighbors this morning, and the overall sentiment is that they're just really, really thankful that no one was seriously hurt, that no one died here. And I feel like that's the good news at this point. I know that these folks are gonna have to pick up and rebuild, especially in this home that I first showed you. But it's just a really fortunate situation that more people weren't injured and again, seriously hurt or killed. I'm gonna send it over to Brianda for a look at traffic. Brianda, what's it looking like out there?
Thanks, Janelle. All right, so right now I'm seeing a ton of slow moving traffic on 80 at Lawson Road. This is in Kaufman County. So if you look right here, just a second ago, probably a couple seconds ago, an ambulance just got there. It looks like there's a truck that is stopped in front of the ambulance that is causing all of these cars to be backed up, and cars are going through the water right there. So that is affecting the westbound lanes. The westbound lanes at 80 and Lawson Road. I want to show you a couple more cameras so you can see how much water is on the roadways. This is 20 at South Polk, and it is causing delays westbound. Going eastbound, they look okay, but also near High Country Lane, you could see that, well, it looks a little bit better now, but it was backed up because of that high water that the cars and the semis were going through. But I do have an update to this crash that was being reported in Tarrant County at 820 near Silver Creek. That is now cleared, as you could see right there, but we still have this issue on 121 at Haltom. So one lane is currently blocked. Cars are still able to get by there. There's another car out here here that's also causing some of those delays. So I just wanted to give you a look at that. But let me leave you with this. US 80 at Lawson Road. This is in Kaufman County. I believe we have Chris Sadeghi out there. Are you on the roadways out there?
Brianda, we are on 35 East South in Corinth, kind of coming up on Lake Dallas, and really now, as we've been chasing these overturned semi trucks all morning long, now we're really kind of sinking into the thick of the morning commute where everybody is getting out on the road, heading into work. And at least here in Corinth, we have still plenty of rain. The roads are wet. You got a little bit of ponding, so be careful for that. We are moving along at a pretty good speed here, although certainly not as fast as we'd normally be going on a dry road. But now we wait and see just how messy things might get that we have more cars out on the road. Certainly we hope we don't see anything worse than what we've already seen. But again, the big thing this morning has been the high winds causing those semi trucks to topple over. We're actually heading to a spot in Louisville where we heard about some wind damage. That's the other big thing we're watching in addition to what is happening on the roads. The damage that is happening to buildings, to homes. You heard the report from Janelle Fort earlier, so we hope to have an update on a reported site of damage in Louisville. Mark and Kara, hopefully I have that for you the next time we talk.
Yeah, Chris, we are hearing a lot of those come in right now. We're talking about down power lines, things like that. Just to give you an update, I just checked Encore's Twitter account. They just tweeted out they have crews out there working right now to restore power. And it looks like at last check that the number of people impacted or without power right now has dropped about another 30,000. So they're working quickly.
Yeah, and we know that DFW did lift their ground stop, although they have quite a few cancellations and delays. Dallas Love Field does as well, and a lot of school districts have been delayed too. Just looking at WFAA.com, where you can find a list of all the local school districts. Northwest ISD on a 2-hour delay, Plano ISD transportation delays. Parents are talking about bus delays of 30 minutes or more. Community ISD, Garland, so quite a few different ones. Kaufman ISD as well have been dealing with the after effects of either damage to their schools or getting to and from school for buses or just parents and kids trying to get there.
Yeah, so be aware when you're out on the roads of those down power lines, any sort of standing water. It's going to be an issue throughout the day as we continue to deal with winds. We will continue on WFAA Plus. You can join us there. Stay safe this morning.